Let's talk about something cool today, huh? Just kidding, it's actually really disappointing. There's been some conflict of sorts between H3H3 and Keemstar, which is of no consequence to me, and that I can't really bring myself to be too deeply invested in, seeing how the two of them haven't really been at the front of my mind in some time, and how they both only really benefit from the cyclical nature of this type of content, which only gets more people talking about and watching them. As exemplified by this video and many others, wow, how neat is that? But rather than touch too heavily on the authenticity of their claims, something which many people have doubtless already talked about by the time this video is out and that I'm not too interested in, I wanted to focus on one particular topic of discussion that sprang forth as a result of it. In the midst of their feud, there were attacks made on each other's sponsors, something which appears to be a point of contention and which I had my own thoughts on in relation to their conduct. If one of them was a small creator, or if they didn't have other business opportunities which afforded them considerable passive income, like very popular, profitable channels, clothing lines, or numerous other sponsors and brand deals, for example. Hell, if either of them were likable, or if this was even uncommon, then such an occurrence might have been noteworthy. But that's just not the case, yet people still seem to be in an uproar about it. It's two millionaires bickering back and forth with each other and suffering relatively mild consequences after having all the dumb stuff they've said and done throughout their careers being brought to light, their volatile personalities being put on display for everyone to see. I see nothing unusual or outrageous about what's transpired as a result. Granted, the complaints seem to mostly be coming from other millionaires who would be affected by this, but hey, I'm sure that's just a coincidence. I'm certainly not insinuating anything by mentioning these things in sequence, right?
But it is quite a coincidence when you consider that.
Let me remind you, this is happening during a time where in the past few months, most people have been inside spending a considerable amount more time on their phones and computers, meaning all these popular online creators are getting significantly more views and corporate sponsors have been experiencing unheard of levels of exposure. But let's go ahead and assume what's being put forth is an issue and that this does set a newfound precedent for smaller creators losing their sponsorship deals. If we're doing a direct comparison, and this happens because they're showing generally toxic and contentious behavior for which corporate sponsors would have their brands and reputations damaged by association, is it really that uncalled for? And even taking a step back from that, I cannot think of many instances where small creators hovering under 100,000 subscribers on YouTube or 1,000 concurrent viewers on Twitch are largely reliant on their pool of sponsorship deals to begin with. At least ones that aren't scams. The vast majority of creators rely on running ads, general donations, and payment services from a variety of sources, or even just having a more conventional job like myself as their primary means of income. Which is why having these particular things affected is a much bigger deal at any level. That there are groups of people who make coordinated attacks to cancel others, and what platforms do to counteract this are already things that have been consistently criticized and contested for years. Anyone trying to sell you on the idea that this is a new occurrence, that going after sponsors is unheard of, when people regularly get shamed and punished regardless of proof for the accusations against them, is either a tremendous liar who is looking out for their own interests, or is so uninformed that no one should be taking their opinions seriously. It's why getting banned or deplatformed is usually met with the most contention, as it is often career-ending. The repercussions incurred as a result are magnitudes greater compared to simply losing your sponsorship deals, which is already often a byproduct. So I really don't understand how anyone would consider specifically attacking sponsors, something that would truly only affect the highest earners, people who also happen to have the highest odds of recovery if proven clear or repentant, sometimes even if not, to be irregular or unheard of. That's not to say I'm an advocate for outrage and cancel culture, something for which going after sponsors and deplatforming are a shared symptom of. Quite the opposite. I don't particularly like the idea of attacking someone just to deprive them of something that doesn't really solve anything. But the discussion isn't centered around how sponsors can become better equipped to handle manufactured outrage the way platforms like YouTube and Twitch at least attempt to be. Instead, the focus seems to predominantly be on how attacking these high-paying sponsors in general is bad, regardless of history and how brand-friendly someone is, because it might set precedent for affecting innocent people's income. But you cannot talk about how it might be ruining people's livelihoods and conveniently ignore that there are people, including parties involved in this particular case, who have made careers off of deplatforming others, something that is considerably worse and actually does affect the livelihoods of innocent people across every level of income.
I don't give a fuck, alright? You can't do shit to me. I have been fucking with you nonstop, taking down your Twitches, taking down your Twitters, taking down every social media platform you have, Mr. Bong, and I've been owning you. So you can come to this chat and you can cry, but that's all you can do is fucking cry. You can't do shit to me. I am your god, and I mean that. I'm your fucking god. because anything you create, I fucking destroy like that. And I've been doing it over and over and over and over again. Your Twitters, gone. Your fucking Twitches, gone. Your YouTube channel, gone. You wanted to attack my friends. You wanted to take down different people's Twitters left and right. You thought you were so funny, and you got fucking owned. You live with your mom and dad, all right? Live with your mom and dad and make no money, because every little outlet that you had to make a few bucks is shut down by me. And I'm gonna continue doing it over and over and over again, because I have something you don't have. I have friends that work at Twitter, friends that work at Twitch, friends that work at YouTube. I am fucking untouchable, but you are not. And the proof that you're not untouchable is all your accounts that have been shut down for the last couple months.
Are there still people who deserve it? Probably, but that's why it's important to have discussions as a community as to where that line should be drawn and if there's really no coming back from it. It's why large figures on any platform should be held to higher standards as examples of how to behave, especially if they're the ones who set those standards. Which means if you were such a figure, you should probably not dox people, mishandle those struggling with their mental health without proper credentials, and accuse people of serious crimes without proof for the purpose of creating entertainment. It's also probably not okay to sensationalize serious topics, muddling them with theatrics and disingenuous claims in order to use them as fuel for a hit piece either. And if you have millions of viewers on top of that, the aforementioned behavior is inexcusable. I would even go as far as to call it disgusting, but not irredeemable.
And I stand before you as a hypocrite, as somebody who has not always been on the right side of racial issues. I've said the N-word on my podcast, and I thought I used it in a context that made it okay. I look back on those clips with just embarrassment and shame. But sometimes a hypocrite is just a man in the process of changing, and I don't think that it's ever too late to change for the better.
I wanted to make this video to, one, say that I fully understand the rules now. I much better understand the rules, but to also spread the message out to the community of what the rules are. Because when I uploaded that video, I didn't think I was breaking the rules, but that is how strict YouTube is on the bullying and harassment guidelines. And I understand where they're coming from. They're trying to make the platform better for creators. And based on talking to them, I understand that I broke the rules and that I am sorry.
Here's a controversial take. I believe people should be held accountable for their actions and seek to improve from them. All the same, if you have the admirations of millions of people, it becomes your responsibility to do so, else you get checked for it. If the loss of sponsors is the wake-up call needed for YouTube icons to become aware of their considerable influence and apply it in a way that discourages the brigading which causes this to begin with, then that's great, because that is the actual root of these problems that needs to be addressed. But in the more likely scenario, the one that's playing out as I speak, where they remain undeterred and see the growing numbers as a sign of increasing relevance, and continue down a path of comfortable mediocrity, where they insinuate that accountability measures at every level are the problem, and not how they conduct themselves, then you're not going to catch me feeling too much sympathy for them. It just tells me that they don't actually give a shit about what they're doing or saying, just how many people are watching them so that they can fillet themselves and feel vindicated about how much they don't like each other. When you make it your job to criticize others, it shouldn't come as a surprise when people measure you against your own complaints to check for consistency. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, because even if you have a body of controversy behind you, it can just as easily be a testament to how much you've grown from it. But if it's shown that you just keep hitting the same beats, consistently deflecting criticism and lacking the self-awareness to acknowledge your faults, then it's no longer a question of how much consideration you lend to your actions, but whether you're even capable of it. You cannot say you're against user misconduct and irresponsible platforming while actively attacking someone in bad faith, tacitly inciting a conflict among your fan bases. It's just utilizing the methods of someone you don't like, looking to deplatform them, or at least hurt them in a meaningful way, encouraging harassment and exacerbating the problem you're supposedly looking to eliminate.
But you gotta, draw the line somewhere. At this point, it's literally just bowling. And I may seem like a bit of a hypocrite since it's essentially what we do on H3, but I mean, look, I don't know. I always thought we were a little more delicate than that. And I just would like to see that same delicacy across the board, because this is not the community that, I think most of us want to be a part of, so.
I really don't want to believe that two of the most well-known people on YouTube, responsible for influencing the opinions of millions of people, are just huge pieces of shit that only care about circulating artificially produced drama. But even if that is the case, and it's because they know that people enjoy it, then the least they could do is be honest about their intentions, instead of high-roading, pretending that they hold truth and decency to high regard as if they're news reporters, when their behavior is indicative of them being little more than internet tabloids. There were plenty of ways H3H3 and Keemstar could have gone about this that would have contributed to meaningful discussion and raising awareness on the serious failings surrounding content creation. I'm not really sure what this particular method was meant to do other than embellish those failings at the cost of their sponsors. Anyway, this video is once again sponsored by Walkman. You know, it'd be a pretty good meme if in the coming years I turned into a garbage dispenser of content and someone went through all my footage, including this video, just so that they could call me a hypocrite. Like, I don't think I could even be mad about it. Like that, I think that's just how you know you've made it, when someone makes a very lengthy video critique of you.